your reputation and your relationships in this industry are so freaking important. Like, make sure you maintain a reputation to where, and relationships to where when you need help, you can call somebody like Kimo and be like, hey, where do we need to be? Like, how can we position our client to win? Like, you need to put yourself in that position. So understand your reputation is vital. You do not want the reputation of being an asshole, being non-responsive, being unwilling to help. Like, that is going to hurt you significantly in this industry. Welcome to the Whissel Way Podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel with eXp Realty here in San Diego, and I get a pretty special guest today. I'm excited to have you on, dude. You're very special, very special. So this is my new business partner, Kimo Quance. Stoked to have you here today, man.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun because we're gonna dive into some content that I don't know if I've ever seen a real estate podcast talk about. It's something that I don't even know if a lot of people have this on their conscience or even thinking about this, but the opportunity to partner with other people in the business. So that's what we're going to dive into today. But the goal of the show, give you the tools, techniques, and tactics that you need to go out there and crush it in your business. The way that we typically like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. So if you ever have a question you want to have us answer on the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our referral network for everybody leaving California, and you can get access to our private Facebook group and email newsletter where we share a lot of tips and tricks of the things that we're working on here inside of our team. So you can do all of that at thewhisselway.com. So Kimo and I recently announced a partnership together. We've blended our two businesses together and created what we like to call a super team here in San Diego. And so we're going to dive into how that came about. But before we do, I just want to have you guys get to know Kimo a little bit better. So just fill us in on your story, man.
Let's see. Born and raised here in San Diego. I was 10 pounds at birth. How far do you want me to go back? Is that too far?
That's it?
That's too far.
How tall are you actually?
6'5".
6'5" and like
270.
270. That's a big motherfucker.
Yeah, so grew up here in San Diego, born and raised. I only had a few jobs, mainly in sales. And but outside of high school, joined the Coast Guard, served in the Coast Guard for 4 years. I took distress calls. I was a radio man, so when someone held Mayday, I was the one that they talked to.
Okay.
They probably wouldn't have had confidence if they knew it was me they were talking to.
How did you decide to go into the Coast Guard? Because that's like, of all the branches of the military, that's like the one you hear the least.
Yeah.
Well, how'd you decide on that versus, the typical Marine, Army, Navy kind of stuff?
Well, I come from a military family. So my grandfather was a Marine. My dad retired Navy. And I'm just one who wants to like go against the grain a little bit. And I just wanted to do something that no one else is doing, really. Okay. Right. And Coast Guard was it. I started looking. I didn't even know what the Coast Guard was up until like 2 months before joining. And I started looking into it and I found out like the New York Police Department has more people than the Coast Guard does. Wow. So it's a very, small knit community in the Coast Guard. So, so I did that and, was a radio man and took distress calls. And then from there I got out and I actually, believe it or not, wanted to be a air traffic controller. My dad worked for the FAA. And that didn't go as planned. I'm glad because was definitely not my calling. And my a buddy of mine is like sold cars, and he's like, "Why don't you come sell cars?" And I'm like, "I don't know about doing commission." And turns out that's exactly where I needed to be, right? And my second month in the car business ended up outselling everybody at the dealership.
Sell new cars or used cars?
I said both.
Yeah. Okay. What dealership?
Ford dealership.
Yeah.
Ford and Mazda. And I enjoyed it. Right off the bat, I enjoyed the sales process and enjoyed that whole thing. Right.
Yeah.
And I knew it was my calling from there on. So sold cars until the crash, 08. And then from there, so I learned how to sell, in person, right? I think one of the things lacking in the real estate community is there's not many actually salesperson people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I learned how to convert people right then and there, which you had to in the car business, right?
Yeah.
And then
I'm amazed how many people I talk to and like, oh, what makes you want to get in real estate? Like, I watch HGTV.
Yeah.
Like that's their motivation
Yeah.
of why they want to get into real estate, which we'll touch on HGTV at some point today.
Yeah. And so from there at the crash, I ended up working for a for-profit university and basically a call center. It was like 2,000 of us hitting the phones for 8 hours a day.
Were you at Ashford?
Yes.
I've had so many good realtors who worked at Ashford.
Yeah.
Like literally just a college recruiter, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good training. So if you're watching this and you're not in real estate and you want like a good bridge, be a college recruiter. Every person I've ever met who worked as a college recruiter has done really well in real estate.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, I was hitting the phones 8 hours a day, recruiting people to the university. I ended up running, one of the sales teams there and managing a 15-person, team within there. At my peak, I was number 12 out of, I think we had 1,900 people.
Couldn't even crack top 10, dude.
Couldn't, who cracks the top 10?
Who?
Women. Women are the best on the phones.
Okay.
And they were always dominating because no one wants to talk to me. They want to talk to women. But from there, when I was in the car business, I bought my first property at 23 years old. And then I was living in Vegas at the time, and I moved back to San Diego, and I ended up just keeping the property, and that was my first rental.
Okay.
And then
still own it today?
No.
Okay.
I bought that one in 2005 in Las Vegas. I don't know if you remember what Las Vegas was like during that time.
Yeah.
But I kept it for a long time. I kept it just like 2014, I think.
Okay.
And then decided to become a realtor, and I, wanted to become a realtor to basically find investment properties before anybody else, and then it turned out I did okay at being a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then here we are.
So tell me about your real estate career. Like, where did you start out? How did you decide on that? Like, tell me about the early years.
So I started out at Keller Williams. I've been in real estate 10 years now, and I've only been at the same Keller Williams office. And so been there the whole time.
Yeah.
And from the start, did well. I think my first 6 months, I think I sold 19 houses, and then I ended up being Rookie of the Year for Southern California for Keller Williams, and then continued to fail forward. Tried to build a team, let everybody go. Try to build a team,
Yeah.
and then eventually, things started working out, and continued to sell more and more, properties each year.
I watch that all the time. People are like Oprah. They're tiny and little, and then they get really big, and then they get little and they get big. Like,
Yeah.
I watch it. It's hard. I mean, talk about what it's like to try to run a team, because I think everybody sees teams on stage, right? They see numbers, like our brokerage just put out their numbers of like the top 50 teams, and you see all these people selling hundreds of millions. This one girl, Avery, $1 billion last year. Like, that's super sexy, but like, running a team's not for everybody.
No.
What's the hard, like, what should somebody know if they're thinking about starting a real estate team? What would you tell them? Like, don't start a team if fill in the blank.
Ooh. I would say it's what they say you need to do. Like, it's kind of like the next step. Okay. Like, now I'm having success, and, they say you got to start a team, but it's not really for everybody. I mean, there's a management involved, which is not for everybody. Like, starting a team, it really took away from what I really do enjoy, which is a sales piece of it.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're, managing a bunch of stuff that you never really intended to do or have a desire or want to do. So, I mean, I guess if I was, to do it again, I would really keep to what I do best, which is selling. I mean, I grew into a successful team, of course, but, I would bring on 5, 8 assistants and just have them do everything.
Yeah.
And just keep on doing what I do.
Yeah, it's tough. If you don't like managing people, like, running a team is not for you. It is extremely hard. I think that's the thing people don't think about. They get so attracted to the sales and they're like, well, And I think where the mistake is, right? You sold 16 homes your first 6 months, which is crazy. A lot of people are like, well, I sell 30 homes a year, so I'm just going to get like 3 other people to sell 30 homes a year, and we're going to sell 120 homes. Like, it doesn't work that way. You know, you go out and you try to build a team that's like all of your clones, which if you're out there selling 30 homes a month or a year here in San Diego is a high number. I know some of you guys in lower price point markets are like 30. That's what it takes to live here. 30 homes in San Diego, you're a rock star. You're top probably 1% of agents in all of San Diego County. Like, you're not going to go find a ton of agents who sell 30 homes a year. Like, that's very hard to do, because 30 homes a year here, you're talking that's like $30 million roughly, $30 million. Like, that's hard. You're not going to find a lot of that. You're going to have to find raw talent. We talk about that like in the NFL and the NBA. They talk about this all the time. Like, I'm a Bills fan. Josh Allen, like, he was a raw talent coming in to the NFL. He was a train wreck the first couple of years, and now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Like, but they had to, you know, get through that rawness and polish him up into the talent that he is today. Like, you have to go through that in bringing agents on your team. You're not going to just get all these people that all sell a ton of homes and it's just going to all work. Like, it is work. It's a lot of work to build a team. And so if you struggle to manage people, like, a team might not be for you if you're not willing to make a little bit less money or a lot of bit less money for a while. Like, it might not be for you. If you're not ready to slow down your production or maybe get out of production, like, it might not be for you. It's really hard to run a team if all you do is go out and produce all day and you're never actually leading anybody. Like, there's a lot of things people don't think about. So just understand, just because some people run teams, it's not for you. I was on the phone with my friend Becky in Washington yesterday, and she's like, that team shit's not for me. Like, I have a handful of assistants. They take care of everything for me. I just meet with clients. That's all I do. I don't have to, you know, manage people. I don't have to motivate people. Like, everybody takes care of the stuff I don't like to do. I do what I like to do, and I live a great life. So there's a lot of ways to be successful in this industry. A team is not the only way. I think it's important to keep that in mind, you know, as you're watching this and you hear numbers get posted and it's sexy. Like, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into building a team doing 100 million, 200 million a year. So just make sure you understand what you're getting into and think if that's really what you want. Do you want the big numbers? And is that going to make you happy to have a bunch of people? Because it might not make you happy. So just understand who you are inside, what motivates you, and do what plays to your motivation, not everybody else's motivation. I think that's big. I think a lot of people screw that up.
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely a lot more it goes into it. I mean, just like getting into real estate in general, right? I mean, it's looks a lot different from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
You know, and then once you get into it, and you're like, oh, I see now.
Yeah. Oh, those open house signs don't just like magically appear on the corners on the weekend. Like, actually got to like load this shit in my trunk and dodge traffic and get all hot and sweaty, and then go in a house and try to look pretty. Like, or you're like a part-time psychologist, like,
for sure,
dealing with the emotions of people. Like, and I mean, dude, even, you know, I've done this. I've literally bought hundreds of properties over the years. Like, even when I bought my last house, I was still get emotional over it. You know, even I sold my last house, there's still emotion, even having done this. Like, so just imagine the level of emotion to a first-time buyer, to a brand new agent. Like, there's so much damn emotion. So you got to be good with psychology. Psychologists are good in real estate.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, let's start to shift gears into how we came together. So talk me through a little bit about, like, how did this whole thing come about? Because I think a lot of people are really curious. You know, and for perspective, like, Kimo and I worked the same area. We competed for a lot of the same business, or at least you would think that, which is kind of interesting, right? We both focused on the city of Santee, which is in San Diego County. And a lot of people would think we competed against each other on a consistent basis because we were, you know, both of us top 3, top 5 in the city for a long time. But we didn't actually go against each other a whole lot.
No.
There was we've tried to backtrack. How many times did him and I meet with the same seller to go after the same listing? And it was far less frequent than I think anyone would expect. What was more frequent was the number of times I would reach out to Kimo and say, hey, dude, I have a buyer for 123 Main Street. Like, where do we need to be? And he'd help me, put me in a position to get my client's offer accepted, and vice versa. Like, there's far more times we helped each other than we competed against each other. And so just a lesson to take away is, like, your reputation and your relationships in this industry are so freaking important. Like, make sure you maintain a reputation to where, and relationships to where when you need help, you can call somebody like Kimo and be like, hey, where do we need to be? Like, how can we position our client to win? Like, you need to put yourself in that position. So understand your reputation is vital. You do not want the reputation of being an asshole, being non-responsive, being unwilling to help. Like, that is going to hurt you significantly in this industry. So yeah, I mean, we literally would, people I think would see us as competitors because we sold in the same areas and we sold big numbers. So they naturally assume there was competition, but it was actually pretty rare.
Yeah. Yeah. It's when I got into the business, you'd obviously been in the business for a while already. And so I watched a lot of what you were doing and emulated a lot of stuff, right? Obviously we're similar age, that kind of thing, and similar markets, and I think similar style with, from video and how we do things.
Yeah.
And I think just like, how much are we getting into here? Am I going into all of it?
Let's go.
Well, I think just like,
that's what you guys want, right? Like, you actually want to hear the real deal, like no bullshit. So yeah, let's go.
So when I started looking at, we talked a little bit about investments, and what you have a passion for and whether you want to build a team or not, and, what is in it. And I think a lot of real estate agents, whether it be single agents, teams, whatever, there's a lot of ego, involved with it. And they go against decisions that are most likely better for them just because of their ego. Mm-hmm. Right. And, as I really started examining, where I was with my team, where I want to be, what I want to do, I started really thinking about my options. And you were one of the first people that came to mind to talk to. Just like you would partner with a brokerage for XY reasons, I thought, partnering with you would bring benefits to both of us, right?
And at the time you started even having thoughts of like, I kind of want to focus more on investments, what was the size of your team when you started having the thoughts?
I mean, we were 25, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And doing what kind of production?
70 million.
Okay.
75 million.
100 units, 70 million. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want context.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it goes back to, I started thinking about, okay, what do I really want? And also, I mean, it's not just what I want, it's what I think is beneficial to my agents.
Yeah.
On the team, right? It's when I go back to ego, you start thinking about, well, partnering, or, you have to really examine like, okay, this is better for the agents for XY reasons, more systems, more relationships that you have, whether it be with referral partners or whatever it is, access, and then also for me to help me focus on more of what I want to do as well.
Right. And
looking at this and examining, okay, why can't we don't see it often in this industry at all. And I don't know why. And
egos, dude. Yeah. It's totally egos because it's like, this is your baby. You've built this thing. It's your name. It's your face on everything. To like, let that go is hard for people, man. I mean, it's very, very hard.
And I had that.
Yeah.
I had that for sure.
Yeah.
Right. I have an ego. We all do. Right. But I really had to examine that and, really figure out what's best for my agents, for my team, for me, all the way around to grow and move forward. And I think within this industry, I think we're going to see this a lot more. I think, teams are really the future. Obviously, there's a lot of teams now, but I think it's going to be even more important in the years to come, and more, agents and teams, coming together.
Definitely.
Not only for the agent involved, the real estate agent involved, the teams, but for the clients. The client, a single agent just can't do what a team can do.
Yeah.
And it's more important for the agent too. These single agents just can't.
Right.
Can't
compete.
mean,
to literally go toe to toe with what we have, I mean, by combining everything that we both do, like for somebody who's a solo agent to compete with that, like unless they have the relationship or they literally do it for free, it's going to be really hard to win.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just trying to be real. Like the level of systems and processes and people that we have in place, if you're trying to go in there, and your pitch is I'm going to take professional photos and I'm going to put it on Zillow, like you're going to get smoked going up against some of these big teams, and not just ours, but there's so many massive teams out there that have, like we have 7-8 people just in our marketing department of our company.
Yeah.
Like how do you go up against that as a solo agent? That's tough.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough. And that's why I think you're seeing some of these teams get, like years ago, it was unheard of to have a team be more than 10 people. Yep. Like a team was 3, 4, 5 people. 10 was like a huge team. Now you're seeing 100+ person teams all over the place. But they're more than teams, they're businesses at this point, right? They're businesses that just sell real estate.
Yeah.
Right. That's the product. There's businesses that sell these. Hydro Flask is a business. Voss is a business, right? Like just the product that we sell in our business is real estate.
Yep.
So it's I think that it's really tough for small agents, small teams to compete. I think it's going to get harder and harder. So if I hear you right, it sounds like part of the motivation was your passion was really shifted toward investing.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you wanted to do what you felt was best for the people on your team.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That was one of the main drivers.
Yeah.
Obviously I have my own, goals and things in mind, but I'm a decent human being. You know what I mean? Like
most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. No, really. I mean, I really do care about my agents. Yeah. And I really wanted their success. And I really, was asking myself, was I giving them everything that they deserve?
Yeah.
And was I giving them way and above what most everyone offers? Yes. Is there a whole nother level to that? Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why, I thought this was best, just like a single agent, and why all the reasons they would want to partner with a team, right? It's the same thing here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think as we started to have some of the initial conversations, we started to realize there was a lot of synergies in our business, because this has been hard to blend these two things together, even with a lot of synergies. But some of the big synergies we found where we started to realize like, hey, this could really work, was we realized we use the same CRM. We use Follow Up Boss. We use Ylopo, for our website. Our splits were extremely comparable. Our geographic coverage areas were extremely comparable. The demographic of the agent on our teams was very comparable. We were like, hey, this thing could really work. I don't know how this works if you have people who are completely separate systems, completely different splits. You've got, a team of a bunch of 20-year-olds and a team of a bunch of 7-year-olds right? Like, I don't know how that works, but I think we realize like there's a lot of synergies. This could work. But as we've gotten into it, it's not easy. I mean, there's so many little situations as we've merged everything together. Like, how do we deal with the databases that overlap with each other? The big thing right now is, right, there's so many referral partners out there. A lot of the leads coming in have referral fees attached. How do we merge that stuff together? It's not easy. Like, if you're thinking about doing this, I want to share with you, like, you're just like, oh yeah, we just merged together. It's all smooth. Like, it's not that easy. I was with my friends from the agency, James Harris and his partner, and John and his partners at the agency. They just blended together to make Bond Collective. I had dinner with them. They're like, this is tough. Like, right. And they're TV guys, right? Like, to blend their teams. I mean, you think you and I have egos. Holy shit. Like, once you get on TV, your ego gets even bigger. Like, it's not easy. So the things I would tell you, like, if you're thinking about doing this, is one, make sure that there's a connection, right? Like, this is somebody you're in business with for, a period of time. Like, you need to make sure that you mesh with each other. I don't see how you can do a partnership if there's not that synergy, between the two people. I would say, look at the different systems and processes, figure out, are we Android and iOS trying to like, if you get two people on iOS, it's probably going to go a little smoother than an Android and an iOS person. So think about like your systems, think about your people, your processes. There's a lot to think about, but when you actually start to take in, like, we've already integrated a lot of the stuff that you were doing that we weren't doing, right? We started to realize, like, we've been shooting videos all day today. Kimo brought to the table some really cool stuff about running buyer seminars and seller seminars. Like, so what's been really cool is we've taken what were we doing, what was he doing, and then just taking the best of both and meshing it together. And it's been really cool because now your team was great already, our team was great already. But when you put those two together, like, it's not it's not a 1 + 1 = 2, right? This is 1 + 1 = 200. Like the results become exponential. And so it is a lot of work. Like I don't want to sugarcoat this at all. That this is easy to like merge two big teams together. But when you start to think about all the amazing things that both teams are doing, merge that together, like the results are going to be exponential. Like I'm super freaking pumped for the things we're going to do together, man.
Oh, absolutely.
And I have a feeling we're going to do some investment shit together too, because
Yes.
I'm loving investing right now. We're flipping a shitload of houses and it's really fun. And we're about to build apartment buildings and shape the city. So that stuff is super cool too. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this. Before we wrap today, I want to do something we refer to as our Whissel widget of the week. This is something we utilize in our business. It saves us time, makes us more money, or just helps us have a little bit more fun. So what do you got, dude?
I was going to share Paperform.
Okay.
So Paperform is basically an online form builder that I use. And shout out to Frank Klesitz for turning me on to it. But basically, one of the things I used it for best was creating a lead form that I used through Facebook. And this particular lead form that I used with Paperform that I created, feel free to reach out to me on social media or whatever. I can share some of the questions that are on it with you. But that particular lead form, I think in the last 2 years or last year and a half or so, made me over $500,000 just for that Paperform that I created. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a form building system that'll integrate with Facebook?
It doesn't integrate, but it creates a link.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So you
you're
essentially
running a Facebook
create
ad, driving them to the Paperform.
Exactly.
I like that.
And it's super friendly, user friendly. It's clean and smooth when people go through it.
Yeah.
And it encourages them. Yeah. Encourages them to keep going through the form. So
cool.
That's one of my favorites.
All right. The one I'm going to share are these bad boys right here. I decided to give running blue light glasses a chance a couple years ago, and I could not imagine running without them. If you could, there's all kinds of studies you could read on this stuff, but staring at a computer screen or a phone screen or a TV screen or any sort of a screen all day long, there's a lot of strain that you're putting on your eyeballs. And if you could just get a nice pair of blue light glasses, it makes a freaking world of difference. The days that I don't have them, I can literally feel the pressure in my head from like the added strain to stare at a screen. I know this sounds crazy, but like this truly, truly makes a difference. I wear them from a company called Blenders. They're local here in San Diego. They don't have that like super blue tinted lens, but they're blue light glasses. They're fire. Like I would highly recommend you try these out for a little while. I walk away, like I literally feel my energy level is higher at the end of the day just because I'm not straining my eyes as much to stare at a damn computer screen. So just, we have James Clear speaking at an event, fastforwardconference.com. You should be there. Tiny changes, remarkable results. Like this is an example of a tiny change of just wearing a blue light set of glasses, and whether your prescription or not, doesn't matter. It makes a huge difference. It's a remarkable result. So that's my widget of the week. And with that said, guys, I hope you got a lot of value out of the episode today. Love to stay connected. Reach out to Kimo at Kimo Quance on social. Do you have a middle initial in there?
No.
All right. We keep it easy, guys. Like your social should not be at Killer Kitty 619. Like that shouldn't be your social. It should be your name. I'm at Kyle Whissel. He's at Kimo Quance. Follow us on social. We'd love to stay connected with you. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Whissel Way Podcast. Wait. Before you leave, I want to share some more tips and tricks that we're using in our business to take it to that next level. Just click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Click right here.